you're watching this, please subscribe. My name is Fredrick. I'm 40 years old. I own a car company, a private airport, a logistics fleet, and too many properties to count. Some call me a billionaire. I just say I worked hard and God smiled on me. I live in Lagos with my wife Dora and our 3 children, Ada, Amara, and Junior. I wasn't always this settled. My life changed drastically the day I boarded a Lufthansa flight back to Nigeria from Germany. I had gone for a board meeting and was exhausted. The seat beside me was empty for a while until she walked in. Dora. She was wearing a wine-coloured dress, her natural hair puffed into a neat bun, and glasses that made her look like someone who reads romance novels with her legs crossed. She sat, said hi, and I replied with my usual charm. We got talking, from business to music to the annoying way Nigerians shout, "Excuse me," on planes. Before we landed, I had gotten her number. We laughed like old friends as we walked through immigration. She was smart, ambitious, and beautiful. When she said she lived in Lekki, I laughed and told her I'd be seeing her sooner than she thought. And I did. Fast forward a year later, we had our traditional wedding in Enugu, then a white wedding in a Catholic church in Lagos. Dora wore a stunning white gown with gold lace. I looked like royalty in my black and silver suit. We were the talk of Instagram that day. Our love was the kind people used as prayer points. It didn't take long before God blessed us with children. First, our twins, Ada and Amara. Then Junior came 2 years later. Life was full. Our mansion in Banana Island echoed with laughter, noise, baby cries, and Dora's high-pitched "Freddie, come and help me oh." I provided everything Dora wanted. Designer handbags, check. A business of her own, done. A house in her name. She didn't even ask, I gave her. I was the man every woman prayed for, and I was proud of the woman I married, until sickness changed everything. It started subtly, a small ache in my stomach, then my back began to hurt. At first, I ignored it. Billionaires don't fall sick, Abi. But one evening after work, I came home feeling like someone had stabbed my spine. "Are you okay?" Dora asked. "I don't know. My stomach is turning and my back feels like it's on fire." She called our family doctor immediately. He examined me, gave me injections and told me to rest. I did, and for a week I was fine. But the pain came back, this time worse. I could no longer walk to the bathroom without assistance. My hands began to tremble. I couldn't eat on my own. Dora became my caretaker. She bathed me. She helped me eat the meals cooked by our chef. She gave me my drugs. I remember holding her hand one night and whispering, "You're a good woman. Thank you." She smiled and kissed my forehead. "You'll be fine, Freddie. You're strong." But strength has its limits. My condition worsened. One day, while Dora was bathing me, I lost control of my bowels. I defecated in the bathtub. She screamed, "Jesus, Freddie, this is too much." I looked up at her, ashamed. My wife, my queen, was looking at me like I was a pile of dirt. She stepped away, breathing heavily. "This is too much for me, Fredrick. I didn't sign up for this. I'm too young to be cleaning poop and vomit every day. You need to get better." She composed herself immediately when the twins walked into the room. "Daddy is okay, right?" Ada asked. Dora turned and smiled. "He's fine, baby. Go and watch cartoons." After the kids left, she called the maid to clean the bathtub while she dressed me. That night, I woke up around 2 a.m., thirsty. I turned to Dora weakly. "Please get me water." She didn't move. I called her again. Nothing. She was awake. I could feel it, but she pretended not to hear, so I forced myself out of bed. Each step felt like climbing a mountain barefoot. My knees were shaking. My head felt like it was being crushed between two stones. As I reached the door of our bedroom, I collapsed. The pain shot through my spine like electric shock. My vision blurred. I couldn't breathe. I tried calling her name, but my voice cracked like broken glass. She heard the thud and rushed out. "Freddie! Freddie, Jesus Christ!" She screamed for help. "Rita! Mama Esther! Somebody help me!" Our guards ran in. Dora told one maid to take the kids to their room. I was lifted and rushed to the hospital, barely conscious. There, in the cold hospital room, with tubes in my nose and pain pumping through my body, I overheard the diagnosis: brain tumour. Surgery was urgent. Dora signed the consent forms with shaking hands. The operation lasted over 10 hours. They said it was successful, but I never opened my eyes. I had entered a coma, and while I lay still in that bed, praying in silence that my body would wake up, my wife was about to remember what it felt like to be held by someone else. Being in a coma is strange. You can't move, you can't speak, but sometimes, just sometimes, you can feel. I wasn't sure if it was real or just my imagination, but I could hear faint sounds, nurses whispering, machines beeping. Dora's voice, soft and sweet, saying things like, "You'll be okay, baby," while she held my hand. They said my surgery was successful, but instead of waking up to celebrate it, I slipped into silence. 10 hours in the operating room, and I came out breathing, but unconscious. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, one whole year. And in that time, life outside that hospital room moved on. Dora visited every day at first. She came in with fresh clothes, flowers, and sometimes the kids. She'd talk about how Junior missed playing football with me, how the twins refused to do their homework unless Daddy said so. She held my hand, kissed my cheek, and smiled for the doctors. But behind that smile, she was struggling. And honestly, I don't blame her completely. She was 35, a young, beautiful woman. Her husband, me, was unresponsive. For a whole year, she bathed alone, slept alone, and woke up to the empty side of the bed. The sound of silence became her new alarm clock. They say absence makes the heart grow fonder, but for some hearts, absence makes them wander. It started with a trip to the grocery store. Dora needed to restock the house. The nanny had called to say they were out of eggs and cereal. She threw on leggings, a tank top, and slippers. Just a quick run to the supermarket near Admiralty Way. She was selecting tomatoes when she heard a familiar voice behind her. "Still can't pick tomatoes without overchecking." She turned. Tunde, her ex, the man she once loved in university, the one who used to write her love notes during boring lectures, the one she broke up with for, well, someone richer, me. They hugged, polite at first, then a little too long, that kind of hug where your body remembers old habits. "Wow, Dora," he said, still holding her waist, "you haven't aged a day." "You still flirt like a broke man," she laughed, but her eyes lingered. They exchanged numbers, and that was how the door opened. Tunde started texting. It began innocently. "How are the kids? How's your husband?" Dora would reply with vague answers like, "We're managing." But as the days passed, the messages got deeper. Tunde reminded her of the woman she used to be, playful, romantic, desirable. And Dora. Well, she was craving something more than just attention. She wanted to be seen again, touched again, not by doctors or nurses adjusting her husband's IV drip, but by someone who looked at her and saw a woman, not a caregiver. She was starving, not for food, but for affection. As Dora later told me, "Freddie, it's not that I didn't love you. I just forgot what it felt like to be wanted." One evening, Tunde invited her over. At first, Dora said no, then maybe. Then she wore that perfume I bought her from Dubai, the one she only used on special occasions, and left the house. She told the nanny she was spending the weekend at the hospital with me. She kissed the kids, packed a small overnight bag, and drove off. But she didn't come to see me. She went to him, at Tunde's place. They talked, they laughed, they played old songs from their university days. There was a moment she described as electric, the part where he looked into her eyes and said, "You still bite your lower lip when you're nervous." She smiled. Then he touched her face. And that was it. She gave in. The first time it was on the couch. The second time it was in the shower the next afternoon. And afterward, Dora laid in bed, staring at the ceiling, her body relaxed, but her mind spinning. "What have I done?" she whispered. But guilt wasn't enough to stop her. She pulled out her phone and transferred money to Tunde. Not because he asked, but because, in her mind, that made it clean. "Take this and keep your mouth shut," she texted. She returned to the hospital, held my hand like nothing happened, sat by my bed and prayed with the nurses. She kissed my cheek and whispered, "I love you, Freddie. Come back to us." But her mind was still warm from the night before. And when the guilt hit again, she'd drive to Tunde's place for comfort. Every time she returned to my hospital bed, she carried a piece of him with her. I stayed in that coma for 365 days. And my wife spent most of those days torn between loyalty and longing. She was a woman in emotional drought, and Tunde was the rain, the kind of rain that wets everything but never stays, but all storms end. And one morning my fingers twitched, my chest moved, my eyes opened slowly. The nurse screamed, "Doctor, doctor, he's awake!" They called Dora. She was at Tunde's house making breakfast in one of his oversized shirts. When her phone rang, she nearly dropped the eggs. She rushed to the hospital. Makeup half done, perfume too strong. And when she entered that room and saw me blinking slowly, trying to say her name, she ran to my side like nothing else mattered. She didn't know yet, but life was about to repay her, with interest. When I opened my eyes, Dora cried. I could barely move. My throat was dry and my head felt like it had been cracked open and stitched back together, which, to be fair, it had. She held my hand tight and kept repeating, "You came back to me. You came back to me." I couldn't speak for the first few hours. My voice was trapped under layers of medication and tubes. But I recognized her face, the curve of her nose, the slight dimple on her left cheek. Even the way she faked a smile when she was nervous. And I also noticed something new. Guilt. Her eyes were red, not just from tears, but from something deeper. Something she hadn't confessed, not to me, not to the mirror, not even to God. But I was too weak to ask questions. My recovery was fast, too fast. Doctors said I was responding well to therapy. I began to speak, then walk, then smile at my kids again. Junior refused to leave my side for days. The twins cried and said, "Daddy, don't go back to sleep again, please." Every part of me wanted to hold on to them and cry, but I had to be strong, for them, for myself. As for Dora, she played her role perfectly. She brought fresh clothes, healthy fruits, fed me, sang old songs we used to love, and pretended like she hadn't been touched by another man while I lay fighting for my life. But sometimes I'd catch her staring out the hospital window with a faraway look, as if her soul was somewhere else. Some nights I'd wake up and find her phone glowing beside her. She'd quickly turn it off. Old Fredrick would have ignored it. But now I was watching everything. A month later, I was discharged. They said I was a miracle, a walking testimony. Family, friends, business partners all came visiting. Even pastors showed up uninvited to pray and take pictures. 1 week after I got home, I returned to work. My staff surprised me with a celebration dinner. The board of directors, engineers, investors, all dressed in white and gold at a high-end hotel on Victoria Island. We popped champagne, gave speeches, toasted to health and life. Dora came too. She wore a silver dress and gold earrings. She looked like the woman I married. For a moment I thought, maybe we're really okay now. But fate had other plans. Around 10:45 p.m, I stood up to pee. I excused myself from the table, told my driver not to let anyone leave yet. As I walked back from the restroom, something caught my eye. Dora, in the hotel lobby, with a man. They weren't just talking, he was holding her hand. Tunde. At first, I froze. You know when your chest tightens and your ears start ringing? That's what happened. I felt like I had been slapped with a hot hand. I quietly followed them. They walked to the receptionist, booked a room. Dora touched his back as they walked away. Smiling, she smiled. The same smile she used to give me when we snuck away for private dinners years ago. I stopped at the corner of the hallway. Room 607. I watched them enter. I waited. Maybe they were just going to talk. Maybe it was innocent. Maybe. Then I heard it. A laugh, then a moan. Number. My heart dropped. I felt like vomiting. My hands shook. I raised my hand to knock. But I couldn't. Instead, I leaned on the wall. My wife, the woman who begged me to wake up, who fed me grapes and held my IV line, was now moaning in another man's arms. I walked away. When we got home that night, the silence in the car was loud. Dora sat beside me, adjusting her dress like nothing had happened. I didn't say a word. The driver kept glancing at the rearview mirror. He knew something was off. As soon as we entered the house, I turned to her. "Where were you before you came to the hotel?" She blinked. I went to the store. I had to get a few things." "For your ex?" She froze. "What are you talking about?" I walked closer. "Room 607, Victoria Hotel. You smiled at him, Dora. You moaned. I heard you. I heard everything." She gasped, her hand covering her mouth. "Fredrick, let me ask you one question," I said, voice shaking. "Have I ever denied you anything?" She began to cry. "Please." "I gave you the business you wanted. I bought you a car, a house, a chef, a nanny, a driver. You said you wanted to travel. I took you to Greece, Maldives, Dubai. What didn't I do for you?" She knelt on the floor. "I was lonely. I was confused. I didn't plan for it. I was in a coma, Dora. I was in a hospital bed trying to remember your face, and you were in another man's arms." She wept like a child. But I had no more tears. 1 week later, I filed for divorce. She didn't fight it. She left the kids with me, said she needed time to find herself. She packed her bags. I watched from the living room as the car drove her away. But I'm not a wicked man. I left her the house I gifted her and the business I opened for her. I took the car I gifted her back. Now I live in my apartment with my 3 kids. I make breakfast for my kids. I drive them to school. I do their homework with them. But every time I look at them, I remember. I remember the woman who promised to stay, for better or for worse. She stayed for better. But the moment it got worse, she touched another man. Life after divorce is like trying to find your rhythm in a song that keeps changing tempo. I moved out of the mansion and settled in a 4-bedroom penthouse in Ikoyi. It wasn't as grand, but it was peaceful. No ghosts of betrayal lived in the walls. just my kids and silence. The kids adjusted faster than I expected. Junior became more mature. At just 10, he'd pat my back and say, "Daddy, it's okay, you're strong." The twins, Ada and Amara, were full of life, innocent, clueless about why Mummy no longer lived with us. I didn't have the heart to explain. I just told them she went on a long trip. And every time Ada asked, "When is she coming back?" my chest would tighten. I'd smile and say, "Soon," but I knew the truth. Dora didn't call often. The woman who once cooked me ogbono soup and laughed at my dry jokes now lived in silence. I heard she was still seeing Tunde. People talk. Lagos is small. But the sweetness of stolen fruit doesn't last forever. Rumours started swirling that she tried to make it work with him, but deep down she missed the life she threw away. I didn't rejoice. I didn't curse her either. Some nights I stared at the ceiling and asked myself, was I too generous, too soft? Maybe I was, but I've learned something. Being a good man doesn't protect you from bad endings. One Saturday morning, I took the kids out to a park. They were climbing ropes, running barefoot, and laughing so loud that I felt joy again. The real kind. The kind that doesn't come from money or praise or owning a private airport, but from watching your children chase butterflies without a care in the world. That's when my phone buzzed. Dora. The first time she called in 3 months. I stepped aside to answer. Her voice was shaky. "Freddie, please don't hang up. I'm listening. I've made mistakes. Many. I can't even look at myself in the mirror." I didn't say anything. "I miss the kids," she continued. "I miss you. I miss our home. I wake up beside Tunde and feel empty, like I traded gold for sand." I still didn't respond. "Do you hate me?" "No," I said softly. "I don't hate you. I just don't recognize you anymore." Silence. Then she whispered, "I'm sorry." "I know," I said, "but sorry doesn't undo anything. It just proves you can feel." She asked to see the kids. I agreed. They met at a neutral place, a cafe in Lekki. When the twins saw her, they screamed, "Mummy!" and ran into her arms. Junior hugged her too, but it was stiff, the way older children hug when they're protecting their emotions. She wept openly, clinging to them. I watched from the car. I still loved the woman she used to be, but I couldn't rebuild a home with the one she became. Months passed. Business grew. I opened a second car plant in Abuja. I became a speaker at global tech summits. People clapped, called me inspirational, strong. But they didn't know the real me, the man who still turned to the right side of the bed in the morning, forgetting that it was empty now. They didn't know that I sometimes stared at my wedding photo and wondered what really changed. Was it the coma? Was it the loneliness? Was it me? One Sunday after church, Junior walked into my room. "Daddy?" "Yes." "Would you ever marry again?" I paused. "I don't know. Why?" He looked down, thoughtful. "I just hope you find someone who won't leave next time." I smiled, pulled him close and whispered, "Me too, son. Me too." Now let me say this. Not all women are like Dora. Some will hold your hand when the world turns its back on you. Some will wash your wounds without frowning. Some will pray for you at midnight and love you even when your strength fades. But I didn't get that version of love. I got the version that only loved when things were rosy. And when life turned bitter, she spit me out like bad fruit. Today, I live differently. I make time for my kids. I laugh more. I rest. And when people ask, "Fredrick, why are you still single?" I just smile and say, because I know what it feels like to be touched and forgotten. For more stories, please subscribe.